You'll know that the Prime Minister resigned this past week. Social media has gone into absolute overdrive. The news is full of it. Everyone's had an opinion. But as somebody who spends every single day talking to neurodivergent families, my first thought after going, woohoo, he's resigned, wasn't actually about him at all, if I'm honest. My first thought was, what does this mean for education now? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Liz Mears, neurodivergent parenting coach and mum to an autistic son and a probably ADHD daughter. I am ADHD myself too. So before anyone starts typing any angry comments, let me just say this. I genuinely don't care what colour the government is, who's in the government. I don't particularly like government. So I am no way affiliated Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is somebody coming in and being in power that is going to make education better for children. I'll celebrate that. If somebody comes in and makes life harder for children and education, then I'll definitely talk about that too. My loyalty has never been to one political party. It's always been to children and the greater good of humanity. One of the biggest questions people are asking now is whether we're going to end up with a new education secretary, because a lot of us don't particularly vibe with Bridget Phillipson, to say it in a kind way. And somebody said to me the other day that actually Bridget Phillipson may have been more damaging for the education system than Michael Gove, and that's really saying something. So if we do get a new education secretary, what would actually change? Would it change? Because let's be honest, education has felt incredibly turbulent for quite a long time now. Parents are exhausted, teachers are exhausted, kids are exhausted. We've watched attendance become almost sacred, while well-being often feels like an afterthought. Families of disabled children, children with additional needs, children that are SEND, are still fighting battles that they shouldn't have to fight. You know, the SEND system continues to leave families waiting years upon years for support. Schools are being expected to solve problems that, frankly, they haven't been giving the funding for or the resources to solve. And somewhere in the middle of all that, our children are just trying to get through a school day. And then this week happened, the heat wave. We are in the midst of a massive heat wave at the moment. Rumoured to hit 35, 36 degrees. For those of you in America, that's kind of 95 Fahrenheit. And honestly, I don't think anybody could have accidentally, on purposely, created a better example of everything that's wrong with the system if they tried. Across the country, we've seen completely different responses from schools. Some have been absolutely brilliant. They've said, right, it's far too hot for blazers, you know, and ties. We're not doing that today. Come in your PE kit, wear your shorts, bring extra water. We'll adapt the day around you. One of our local schools has been great about that, about having water on the tables for the kids and allowing them to just get on and take what they need when they need it. Fantastic. They've looked at the weather, then they've looked at the children in front of them and gone, brilliant. Common sense prevails. However, other schools have insisted on full uniforms, shirts, blazers, ties, business as usual, despite classrooms feeling more like greenhouses than places of learning. I actually have a school near me where a child fainted. It was in the paper. They weren't allowed to change their uniform. This particular school also has solar panels on top of the roof, which obviously helps to make things hotter. It also has a section of the school that is actually like a greenhouse. So we have had actual children having medical problems because of the lack of common sense being used in schools. What I'm trying to get at is this isn't actually about uniforms. It's not about shorts or blazers or skirt. It's actually about judgment. And it's about whether we can trust the adults working with our children to make sensible decisions based on what's happening right in front of them. And I think my worry behind all of that is that there are schools, teachers, head teachers that are perhaps so dragged down and focused on doing what is right by what the government wants them to do that they are nulling and voiding any sense of humanity inside of them. And the hypocrisy is real because, these teachers are obviously hot and bothered in school as well, but they will be able to choose the perhaps type of linen that they wear in their shirts and their trousers or their dresses and things like that, whereas the children aren't getting that same choice. And I won't pretend that I don't like that. I don't like the hypocrisy between it being one rule for adults and one rule for children. It should be the same for everybody if we're going to go down that way, right? And then, of course, when the temperatures reach 30 degrees and more, everything becomes harder for everybody, especially when it comes to our neurodivergent kids, because, the bright sunlight is overwhelming. So, for instance, my son would want to wear sunglasses all the time, but school would never allow that. Scratchy uniform becomes intolerable. Classrooms get louder, fans are on, the air is thicker, smells get stronger. Nervous systems are already working overtime before they've even opened their English books. So if we're serious about inclusion, then inclusion can't suddenly disappear because it's inconvenient. And I think this week has really highlighted something we've actually known for years, is that too many decisions in education are still being made around protecting the government systems rather than supporting people. Imagine how much easier it would be if schools were genuinely trusted to use professional judgment. If teachers didn't have to worry that showing a bit of flexibility somehow meant they were breaking the rules. I think it would be wonderful if we could go back to just some common sense in our schools, because education shouldn't have become so rigid that, drinking water at the table because a child is thirsty or a teacher is thirsty feels rebellious in some way. So because Keir Starmer stepped down, does that magically fix education? No, of course it doesn't. Would changing the education secretary automatically solve everything? Again, no. Because changing the person at the top doesn't automatically change the thinking underneath them. And what I actually want, and what I think most families want, is somebody who's prepared to listen. Obviously, we want kids listened to, we want parents listened to, and we want teachers listened to. We want the professionals on the ground working every day being listened to, because children's nervous systems have been telling us for years where the education system isn't working. This isn't just some random thing that's happened since COVID. This has been going on for what I know personally, 15 years or more, probably longer. It's got to the point where we are expecting children's nervous systems to adapt to systems when actually we should be adapting systems to our children. So wherever this week's politics ends up, whoever ends up getting in, Andy Burnham is possibly going to be going forward from Labour, but who knows if it's just two sides of the same coin, hey? So my hope is always going to stay exactly the same. My hope is that we stop measuring our children and our teachers by attendance figures and silly marks that are sent up to the government with uniform policies and ticking boxes, and that we actually start measuring success by the amount of children that want to be in school, the amount of teachers that want to stay teaching. Those are real key measurements of success as far as I'm concerned. So those are my thoughts for this week's video. I would genuinely love to know what you think. I'm not too bothered about the politics side of it. I don't need to hear that, the Green Party are going to fix it, or Labour will fix it, or the Conservatives will fix it, or they've all just broken it. I'm not bothered about that. I'm bothered about what you genuinely think we need to get this common sense back into our schools, because I want education to be accessible and inclusive for everybody again, instead of so many people not necessarily opting to home educate, but being forced into home education. So let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's an absolute pleasure to see you here again. Hope you're looking after yourselves during this heat wave this week. By the weekend, it should be cooling off again, thankfully. But I would like to just have a little bit of sunshine still, please. If we could stay around, the early 20s, That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? So that we're warm, we can enjoy the sunshine, get the paddling pool out, but we are not effectively melting, which is what has been happening in this house. See you next time.